Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of New York State of Sports here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. Ricky Keeler here with you, looking back at Game 3 of this Knicks-Pacers series. More drama, more close calls. A Knicks team playing without one of its best, if not its best defender in OG Anunoby, had a 9-point lead in the fourth quarter. Looked like it potentially, with Jalen Brunson re-aggravating his injury in the first quarter, that they would take a 3-0 series lead. But then yet another miracle shot hurts the Knicks. Jalen Brunson makes a weird late-game decision. And now Indiana back in the series at 2-1 with a pivotal Game 4 a little over 24 hours from now. Turnaround is quick. We'll dissect all of Game 3, look back at the decision the NBA made in terms of Rick Carlisle, and so much more coming up on New York State of Sports. We'll see you in a second. Reminder, you can follow me on Twitter at Gnader555. Follow the show on Twitter at NY State Sports IE. Follow the network at IE Sports Radio. If you have any thoughts throughout these Knicks and Rangers playoff runs as we do these shows, or you have a question for our live show every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, you can email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. Happy to hear from you. And for the last almost 10 years, remember our 10-year anniversary is next week, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the shop and check out the merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio direct feed for all that is sports. And this show is also brought to you by the good folks over at Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Plant Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky is gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. Planet Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. You can follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky, also planetjerky.net. Great website, great flavors. Want to check those things out. So Knicks lose Game 3. Final score, Pacers 111, Knicks 106. We talked about before Game 3, the goal is to keep the Pacers in the low hundreds. This was Indiana's lowest point total of the series. But it's not quite where they need to be. And I think you look at this series, you can look at this from two different angles. One, what a gutsy effort by this team. In a game where if they had lost by 20 points, you would have been like, all right, it is what it is. They don't have much there. Indiana needs the game. You would be mad about it, but you could understand it. Especially with the news, as Woj reported on Friday, that OG Anunoby not only was out last night, he is out most likely for Game 4. So you understand that they're trying to get him ready to go if the series does stretch into Game 6, Game 7, which I do think it will. Jalen Brunson's banged up, questionable. As I said, re-injures that foot in the first quarter. Was not himself during this game, but got better as the game went on. You can understand it. But for this team to grind it out the way they did, for this team to make it another close game. Now, they end up losing one of those crunch time games that we talked about. I would say, really, the Knicks have played a crunch time game 8 of the 9 games they played in. Really, when you think about it, the only non-crunch time was the third quarter in Game 3. I think that's really been, until the fourth quarter of last night, their worst quarter. And to battle like that, I think if you're a Knicks fan, you got to be happy today. It stinks to lose, and again, we'll dissect what went wrong in that fourth quarter. because if the Knicks do lose this series, this will be a quarter they look back on that they could have put Indiana away. Especially Tyrese Halliburton, who had a monster game. You can tell he's dealing with that back. You can tell he's dealing with the rolled ankle that he got during the game. But it shouldn't take away from the effort that all these guys put in. The Knicks got contributions from people you didn't think, and the big one is Alec Burks. Tom Thibodeau extended that rotation out by necessity. Burks got 21 minutes, was 4 of 6 from the floor, made 2 threes, got 14 points, had 4 rebounds. I mean, you could not ask much more from Burks. Yes, he had a -3, but the only Knick who had a minus in the positives was Deuce McBride. So for Burks to have that kind of number, maybe that does get him more minutes in this series. Maybe they can use him as a 3-point option, add some length, do a couple of things. Remember, he doesn't have to be the main piece. He just has to give them enough off this bench. The Knicks for the first time with really only 2 guys, Burks and McBride, as Jericho Sims got 4 minutes but didn't score. Knicks bench had 24 points in Game 3, and Indiana bench had 46 points in each of the first 2 games, only managed 14. Obi Toppin, who was lights out the Garden, had 2 points. TJ McConnell, 3 for 10 shooting, only got 19 minutes. Shepard, who was good from 3 in the first 2 games, 2 points. Didn't make a single 3-pointer. Isaiah Jackson, 4 points in 13 minutes. So the Knicks shut down the Pacers bench. And I think that's a good positive take from this. So Indiana gets out to the fast start. They lead by 9. The Knicks start taking over in the second. They actually lead at the half. And then Dante DiVincenzo, what an epic third quarter. 17 of his 35 in the third. For the game, he goes 12 of 26, ties a Knick franchise record with 7 3-pointers in the playoffs. 4 straight games now, 5 or more threes. For a guy that couldn't find his shot in the Sixers series, he's found it now. And that's the catalyst the Knicks need, is that second scorer. If him and Brunson are both clicking, you've got a duo that's going to be tough to stop. And what's been amazing about the Pacers in this series is they've not been able to contain him. If you dive into DiVincenzo's numbers so far, he's made 32 shots on 63 attempts. So 32 for 63. From 3-point land, 18 for 32. Remember, in the 3 games that DiVincenzo played against Indiana this year in the regular season, 16 for 32. So you dissect now, 6 games, still shooting over 50% from downtown. So that's a matchup the Knicks can absolutely exploit in the next few games of this series. So DiVincenzo gets them going. Knicks are in a groove. Again, they take a 9-point lead to the fourth, and then things just go wrong. Whether it's Knicks not making layups, they're missing they turn the ball over, missing free throws. Just not doing the little things to win these games. Again, 16 for 22 at the free throw line. 3 of those misses from Brunson. And a lot of talk going into this game was going to be the whole thing with the foul discrepancy. We'll dive into that in the second half of the show. But fouls, again, were just about even. So I don't get the foul discrepancy. The only issue with the call came in about 2 minutes ago. Josh Hart's driving on a fast break. Miles Turner gets the block. Hart wanted a goaltend, even said after the fact he didn't want to get fined, but it's close. It was just about over the 2-minute mark, so you can't go back and review it. And at the other end, the Knicks get called for a goaltend. That was the right call. DiVincenzo touched it before it left the cylinder, so it absolutely was the correct call. But execution in late game situations. Now, the Pacers led by 3 late. Jalen Brunson hits a clutch 3 to tie. Pacers have the ball, but the second chance points. Pacers had 4 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter. And they out rebound the Knicks by 1, but 13 offensive boards. And the one thing the Knicks have been known for, and what Indiana's done a good job of in this series, is they're getting on the offensive glass with the Knicks. New York, that was a stat New York was going to exploit, but when you don't have Anunoby on the floor, your lineup is small. Now, it can work to their advantage. I saw a stat on X earlier on Friday that when you put in a lineup of like Achua, McBride, and the 3 Villanova guys, one of their better lineups. But in that case, they're going essentially. If you put McBride on the court and you're going essentially small, it works in most instances. But in that case, Indiana gets the rebound. Halliburton's dribbling. You don't know what he's doing with the shot clock winding down. And Andrew Nembhard, who had a really bad game, was 2 of 8 from the floor. His only three-pointer was the miracle shot he put up from 31 feet to give him a 3-point lead. Knicks get the ball. 16 seconds left on Jalen Brunson. I think he tries to draw a foul by shooting a 3. You could argue it, and from the replay, again, that's close. But to me, I'm never in the belief that you're going to try to put the game in the referee's hand. And especially when you still have 15 seconds left, if you can get a quick 2, take the quick 2. Cut it to 1. Play the foul game. Especially both these teams have had their free throw yips in this series. There's no reason that you can't play the foul game. And he runs it after the game. That's a decision I can't make. Kind of reminds you back to Game 5 in overtime when he faked the 3 and threw it away. But at least you have a leader who's cognizant of those mistakes. And he had a decent game, 26 points, but 10 of 26 shooting. Kind of takes you back to the first 2 games against Philly. 6 assists. He missed 3 free throws, 5 turnovers. Knicks got to take better care of the ball. It's that simple. 13 turnovers. Pacers had 12 points off those turnovers. I think they've had double-digit turnovers in each of the first 3 games. And you're going to have mistakes happen, but when you're as limited as they are, you have to play a clean game and not give Indiana free points, especially for a team that wants to push the tempo and go in transition. You can't allow them to get that fast start. Especially for a Pacer team that feels, hey, they've actually led all 3 games at the half. So they know they can definitely compete in this series. And the Knicks have to kind of match their hustle at times. Indiana dominated the paint 56-40, and the difference is this is no answer for Pascal Siakam without Anunoby. Siakam had his best game of the series, 26 points, 9 of 14 shooting, 7 rebounds. Strong game from him. Miles Turner goes for 21 and 10. It's his best game at 7 for 13. So really, when you really lost to 3 guys, Halliburton, Siakam, and Nesmith, combined for 92 points. 82 points, 82 points. 35. Halliburton goes for 35, 4 boards, 7 assists, 14 of 26 shooting, 6 of 16 from 3. You're seeing a guy in Halliburton that's not afraid to shoot now in the last 2 games. Now, his 3-point shot, not the greatest, but if he gets open looks, he's going to hit him. Indiana, 12 of 32 from 3. They've taken under 43s in each of the first 3 games, so they are content to go at the rim. It's a contrast from what they were against Milwaukee. So you're going to have to now put more of an emphasis on Siakam and Turner in the paint and maybe make them take those 3-pointers. So the styles are kind of different. Josh Hart actually gets to sit for 5 minutes in this game. He battled foul trouble. Had 10 points, 18 boards, 4 assists. Only took 7 shots. The Knicks took 80 shots as a team. 52 of them were from Brunson and DiVincenzo. 8 were from McBride, so that's 60 shots from 3 players. You would like to see Josh Hart get more looks. If you look at his game logs in the first 2 games, Hart took 25 shots combined. So you'd like to see him maybe be more aggressive offensively. The problem is he's turned the ball over when he gets the ball. Hart's had 14 turnovers in the first 3 games. So it goes back to him being a little more confident with the basketball and making those quick decisions. But again, when you have a double-double the way Hart did, you can't complain about that. Precious Achiuwa, 5 points, 6 boards. Hartenstein, 6, 8, and 5. He only takes 4 shots. Knicks as a team shoot almost 48%. They shoot 52% from 3, so their 3-point shooting, obviously led by DiVincenzo, has been much better. They're getting those looks. They're hitting them. And again, when you look at this series through 3 games, I don't think there's a need to panic. And it's kind of like the Philly Team 3 when the Knicks had that bad third quarter. You got Indiana in a good spot. You're up 2-1. You competed down the stretch in every game. And if you take game 4, I'm not saying the series is over, but to go up 3-1, having 2 games out of 3 in your building, I don't see how Indiana wins 3 in a row. Now, if you lose game 4 and you go back to the Garden 2-2, you're talking about an Indiana team that believes that they got robbed of game 1 at the Garden and then played game 2 down to the final 4 minutes and had the lead at the half in both those games. So the Pacers aren't going to be afraid to go into that building. I don't think Rick Carlisle has them afraid to go into that building. But the question is going to be, are the Knicks, was their struggles in the fourth quarter more a sign of fatigue from all the minutes these guys have played, or did they just make mistakes? Doing the little things wrong, something that they did in the last time they lost, such game 5 in Philly down the stretch, doing the little things and making mistakes. You can't have those things happen and expect to win playoff games. So coming up next, we're going to dive into the decision the NBA made on Rick Carlisle. We'll talk more on the whole thing with the officiating as a whole in this series and why I think the NBA needs to step in, but not step in the way that you think I'm going to say that they should step in. You're listening to New York State of Sports and IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Danya Vodovoz.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen D, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Of course, you can check out the Cavaliers later tonight, Game 3 of their series with the Boston Celtics after a really impressive win in Game 2. Remember what we said here a couple days ago? I thought the Celtics would make quick work of this series the way they looked in Game 1, but another no-show from Boston. I mean, you go back to Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell has had some big games in these playoffs, so I'm sure the Knicks are hoping if they survive this series that Boston and Cleveland can go a 6-7 gamer so they don't have to worry about the other team getting rest if that's the case. Ricky Keeler back with you on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all those sports here on New York State of Sports. Want to get to talking to Rick Carlisle. After we recorded the Ranger post game yesterday, the NBA announced that Rick Carlisle got fined $35,000 for his comments after Game 2. He essentially talked about not wanting to really relive those, kind of moving past it, if you will. First off, I think the NBA got this wrong. Now, again, I'm not going to call for Carlisle to be suspended. I don't believe that at all. But at the same time, I think they should have gone down a lot harder. Jamal Murray got fined $100,000 for throwing a towel and a heating pad on, throwing a towel near a ref and a heating pad on the floor. I think I would have gone closer to the $100,000. The NBA needed to make a stand, and like, this is what I'm talking about. The whole Jalen Brunson, the whole Adam Silver needs to step in, and it's not in regards to that. So there was also the report, Ian Begley, Best and Y had it earlier Friday morning, that not only were remember the Pacers had the 78 calls from the first two games they sent in, were the non-calls. The Knicks then sent in their own clips in regards to Jalen Brunson. Remember, both teams get copied in these emails. So what somebody at the league office needs to do is put both of them in a room and tell them enough. We're not going to sit here and look and have every clip from the night before sent in a file. If you want every clip, just send the rerun of the game. Officiating, as much as there are fans out there that really believe that refs cost you games, I don't really believe that. Might be a call or two. Like, I'm sure if you're a Pacers fan, you look back to Game 1 and you're wondering what's going on. And maybe these are somewhat different crews. But the scrutiny in a lot of these games, I feel like this has been it's been a long time in the NBA since we've had ref scrutiny in a series quite like this one, where every game is getting dissected. And Carlisle said he's going to stand up and defend his team, the ownership, the franchise, and that's all he's going to say about it. But defending your team and your franchise isn't saying that we're a small market team. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. So he didn't exactly double down on his comments, but he didn't exactly retract them either. And to me, the NBA had to be like, whoa. Because even we took a step back. And remember, Carlisle took the high road in Game 1 and kind of went the other way in Game 2. But look, the Knicks have to understand, like, sadly, Jalen Brunson isn't going to get a lot of the calls. In actuality, remember, he averaged double-digit free throw attempts against Indiana during the regular season. He had 7 last night. And the Pacers made a good adjustment. They've taken Nembhard off him, which I think is the right move. Brunson has made work of Nembhard in this series. They tried Nesmith, who's a bigger defender. Nesmith had some better luck. So if Carlisle's not going to make the move and go to McConnell down the stretch, your best move if you use a starting 5 is going to be Nesmith. Just because he can provide more length. And look, if you're going to, like, there's going to be contact. It's going to be a physical series. The only way that I think the Knicks can win this series is if it is a physical series. I mean, keep in mind you saw the video of Tyrese Halliburton after his press conference last night. He could barely walk down the stairs. Between the back, between the ankle. And Halliburton took 16 threes last night. This is where I think Knicks fans should feel confident. The last time Tyrese Halliburton, and we're going to take a quick look here, close to 16 threes. He took 12 against the Bucks in Game 3. He went 1 for 12. He took 12 in Game 4 of that series. He's taken double-digit threes. That's nothing new. But the 16 three-point attempts, I believe, is the most attempts he's had all year. The last time he had 16 threes in a game was back on November 30th against Miami, a game they lost 142-132. So it took Halliburton putting up a season high in threes for Indiana to keep that game close. You shut down their bench. You've been able to make those small adjustments. You're still scoring in the low hundreds. So it's clear your offense is putting up points. Jalen Brunson has scored 20 points in every Knicks playoff game, so you know the 20 is the floor for Brunson. I think the big adjustment for Game 4 is getting Josh Hart more involved in the offense. And by that, I mean when you get involved in the offense, don't turn it over. And continuing to get more out of the bench. Can McBride have another game? He had 10 yesterday. Can he put up another? Can he get 15 or 16? Can Burks do what he did yesterday? If the Knicks get that from their bench and they get a little bit better performances from Brunson and Hart, at least from a points perspective, they should win Game 4. Again, there's nothing that you take away from Game 3 that says the Knicks can't win Game 4. I think that was the worry, that you would see the Knicks lose by 20, 25 points and think, hey, they have no shot in Game 4. And that was a hostile crowd they dealt with. Remember, this is not Knicks fans invading Philly. It's not as easy for Knicks fans to invade Indiana. Caitlin Clark was in the building. The Indiana Fever were in the building. And that crowd's going to be raucous for a Sunday 3:30 game on ABC. You got to be able to match that intensity. If the Knicks play their complete 60-minute game, they will win Game 4. I'm not guaranteeing it, but again, if they play their typical way they play, they'll be going home up 3-1. If Game 5, by the way, the start time for that came out, it will be Tuesday. So again, every other day in this series. Game 5 would be Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And if there is a Game 6 would be still Friday at ESPN. If both Eastern Conference series are still going, I believe the announcement was that game would be 6 o'clock next Friday. If one of them is going, if Boston finishes off Cleveland or vice versa, if Cleveland finishes off in 5, then it would be 8:30. So most likely if there is a Game 6, just count for an early start to your Friday. You get out of work, let's say at 5 o'clock, you go watch Game 6 in Indiana. But I think the hope with OG is, and he's in Indiana with the team, which is great. I would shoot for Game 6. I think the fact that these games are every other day hurts his chances to play more games in the series. Your best bet is having the 2 days off in between Tuesday night and Friday night to get him ready to go. Or at least to get him ready in a limited capacity. Because look, Brunson's going to play through this foot injury. Who knows how bad it is, only he does. but he didn't look right at times. So he's playing through something. There are a lot of guys playing through something. That's the playoffs. Josh Hart told Lisa Salters pregame Friday that after the season he's going to relax, eat, and drink wine for 3 weeks. But he knows every minute's critical. Which, by the way, why are the Knicks allowing Josh Hart to do before the fourth quarter interviews with the networks? Why isn't Tom Thibodeau doing them? Tom Thibodeau did it before in game 2. Hart did it in games 1 and 3. The guy plays 40 plus minutes a game, coach. Why aren't you doing it? I don't understand that. But I love what Tibbs is saying, like, hey, we got to make plays. We got to win. He's not sitting here and making excuses and things like that with calls or whatever. And he handled it just like the way he handled it in Philadelphia. I thought he did a good job with that as well. So again, that series, Game 4, 3:30, Sunday, ABC. We'll have a post-game for that either late Sunday night or early Monday morning as the series continues. Tonight, the Rangers go for their double sweep. They try to make it 8 in a row in the playoffs, which would break a franchise record. They try to make it 10 straight overall, dating back to the end of the regular season. So far as I can tell, as we record this on Saturday morning, that Rod Brindamore has not made a move for who his goaltender will be. Does he go back to Frederik Andersen, or does he go to Kochetkov in net? That's going to be a big question. And look, the Rangers, the goal has to be get ahead early. Remember Game 4 against Washington, they scored about a minute into the game. Now, Washington made a turnover, and Capo Caco took advantage. Get ahead, take their will away. Because you're going against a Hurricane team that's got to feel very dejected that there's been 3 one-goal games in this series. They're 0 for 15 on the power play. And if a couple bounces go their way, they might be up 2-1 or 3-0. That they haven't really done a lot wrong, which is weird for this series. And I think there's a lot of people like myself expected this series to go 7 games because these teams were only separated by 3 points in the regular season. The Rangers had to win the last 2 games of the regular season just to get the President's Trophy and get home ice in this series. If the series had shifted to Carolina, I think you, as home ice, you would have thought differently. But how does Filipino look in his second game back, playing on that third line with Kakko and Wenberg? Can the top line, which has scored top 2 lines, which have scored 21 of their 26 goals so far, keep that up? And a win tonight gets you about a week off. Because Florida won 6-2 against Boston last night. They lead 2-1. If Boston can win Game 4 Sunday, that series at least goes 6. And you're talking about waiting until next weekend to play the Eastern Conference Final. Getting that rest. Think about if the Rangers, who played 20 games in 40 days 2 years ago, could now play 8 games and get to a conference final. They get out all that stuff. And then the Rangers, I think, have the right focus. They've seen blown leads before. A chance to get to their second Eastern Conference Final in the last 3 years. Of course, that year they blew a 2-0 lead to the Lightning. But this is a team that has the right focus, has the right mindset. And I think it's ready for today. So I will say they get the sweep. I wasn't as confident as Washington. I thought Washington would steal a game just because eventually Ovechkin would get going. If and Carolina could say, hey, they put up 100 shots or almost 100 shots on Shesterkin, and they haven't figured him out. If Igor has a similar game to what he did in games 2 and 3, this series is over. Now, even if the Rangers do lose tonight, I do think they go back to the Garden and win Game 5 on Monday. I would be shocked if this series gets back to Raleigh for Game 6. If it does, then you've got to worry if you're the Rangers slightly. But think about all the depth they have, too, that isn't playing, whether it's Matt Rempe, Johnny Brodzinski. There's a lot of good depth that the Rangers have built up, and it's a testament to Chris Drury for at least having guys waiting in the wings if they need to play. And I'm talking about the Knicks, too. Like, think about having Alec Burks ready to go or getting some work from Jericho Sims. Like, both these teams have built solid rosters. So that game, Rangers Hurricanes, Game 4, 7 o'clock tonight, TNT. So you get some Saturday viewing in between the two basketball games that are on today. And we will be back, hopefully, I would say you'll see hopefully something in your wherever you get your podcast early Sunday morning for Rangers Hurricanes Game 4. As more news comes out for Knicks Pacers in terms of injuries, we will, of course, bring that here as well. And it should be a lot of fun. Remember, you can tweet me on Twitter at Rickinator555, at RICK, letter I, Nader like in Terminator, and 3 5s. You can follow the show on Twitter at NY State Sports IE. And you can follow the network at IE Sports Radio. I want to hear from you. Email me, rickjkeeler@gmail.com. Let me know your thoughts on Game 4 tonight. Let me know your thoughts on the Knicks Pacers series. And if they're good, I'll read them on air. I have no problem doing that. So a great effort by the Knicks. Ultimately, they fall short. But again, if you said before the game that would be the kind of effort they would put up, I don't see how you would be too upset with it. They still lead 2-1. They're still in control of the series. There's nothing Indiana did that really makes you think they can win the next 3 out of 4. Or that this Knicks team can't win at least 2 more games, and especially with 2 of them at the Garden. But they can still win. It might go longer than you wanted to, and I think that's where an opportunity to go up 3-0, that will sting a little bit. Where you were 8 minutes away from essentially putting a stranglehold on the series. But you can't be upset with a team that just continues to give you constant maximum effort night in and night out. And I don't want to hear about load management during the regular season, whatever happens with the Knicks. The fact of the matter is they go out and play every minute of every night, and it's the playoffs. You should be playing every minute of every night. You built up for this. So we'll see what happens. Can the Rangers get the double sweep? Remember in 94 they lost Game 4 against the Capitals. But a chance to start 8-0. And the fun stat is the last few teams that have began the playoffs 7-0, 8 of the 11 have won a Stanley Cup. Looking like fun times with the Rangers. We'll see if they can finish off the sweep tonight. So from all of us here at IE Sports Radio, this is Ricky Keeler from New York State Sports on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all those sports. Saying have a great rest of your Saturday. Enjoy Rangers Game 4 tonight. And hopefully we'll be in your podcast feed Sunday morning talking about a sweep and a trip to the conference final. Until then, see you next time, everybody.